Take a slow breath and imagine standing at the top of the world, above the clouds, above the storms, above almost everything on Earth. You are standing on the summit of Mount Everest, the highest mountain on our planet, 29,029 feet high, 8,848 meters above sea level. It is cold, it is silent, it is beautiful, and it is deadly. This is the story of the worst single day in Everest history. May 10th to May 11th, 1996. A day when dreams turned into disaster. A day that changed mountain climbing forever. Let us begin at the beginning. Climbing Everest is not just a physical challenge. It is a dream. For decades, people from around the world have traveled to Nepal to try to stand on top of this mountain. It takes months of planning, weeks of climbing, years of training, and tens of thousands of dollars. By the 1990s, something had changed. Everest was no longer only for elite professional climbers. Commercial expeditions had become popular. Guides would lead paying clients to the summit. If you had enough money and decent fitness, you could join a team. 2 major expedition companies were on the mountain in 1996. One was led by Rob Hall. The other was led by Scott Fisher. Both men were highly respected. Both had summited Everest before. Both believed in safety. Both believed in helping their clients achieve their dreams. No one expected what would happen next. Rob Hall led a company called Adventure Consultants. He was calm, organized, and disciplined. He believed in strict turnaround times. If a climber did not reach the summit by a certain hour, they had to turn back, no matter how close they were. Scott Fisher led Mountain Madness. He was strong, energetic, and confident. He inspired people to push their limits, but he also cared deeply about his team. On these teams were doctors, journalists, business owners, and regular people chasing an extraordinary goal. One of the climbers was John Krakauer, a journalist assigned to write about climbing Everest. He did not know he would later write one of the most famous mountain books ever. The team spent weeks climbing higher and higher, from base camp to Camp 1, to Camp 2, to Camp 3, and finally to Camp 4. Camp 4 sits at about 26,000 feet. This area is known as the death zone. Above 8,000 meters, the human body begins to shut down. There's not enough oxygen. Every step feels heavy. Your brain works slower. Your muscles weaken. Even resting is exhausting. Climbers use oxygen tanks to survive, but oxygen is limited. If something delays you, if you get lost, if you are too slow, you can run out. And in the death zone, time means life. On May 10th, 1996, multiple teams prepared for their summit push. The weather forecast seemed acceptable. Winds were manageable. It was not perfect, but it was climbable. Around midnight, climbers left Camp 4. They began the final ascent in darkness. Headlamps glowed in a long line up the mountain. Boots crunched in the snow. Breathing was loud through oxygen masks. Each climber focused on one thing. The summit, the path to the summit, includes dangerous sections. One of them was called the Hillary Step, a steep rock wall near the top. Only one climber could pass at a time using fixed ropes. But on May 10th, something went wrong. The ropes were not fully set in advance. Climbers had to wait in line at nearly 28,000 feet. Minutes passed, then more minutes. The delay created a traffic jam high on the mountain. Each minute wasted meant less oxygen and less daylight for the descent. Some climbers reached the summit later than planned. The safe turnaround time passed, but many continued upward. They were so close. After months of preparation and years of dreaming, turning back felt impossible. One by one, climbers reached the top of the world. They took photographs. They hugged. They celebrated. But on Everest, reaching the summit is only halfway. You still have to come down. In the early afternoon, the weather began to change. Clouds rolled in. Winds increased. Snow began to fall. Soon the mountain was hit by a powerful blizzard. Visibility dropped almost to zero. The trail disappeared in white. Climbers descending from the summit could not see the path. They could not see the fixed ropes. They could not even see Camp 4 below them. The wind was violent. Temperatures dropped further. Some climbers ran out of oxygen. Some became separated from their guides. Some were too exhausted to continue. Night fell, and the storm continued. 8 climbers would lose their lives over those terrible hours. Rob Hall stayed with a struggling client high on the mountain. The client was weak and could not descend alone. Hall could have saved himself, but he refused to leave. As the storm intensified, they were trapped. Oxygen supplies were nearly gone. Hall managed to contact base camp by radio. He remained calm and clear, even as the situation worsened. He even spoke to his pregnant wife by satellite phone. His final words were full of love and strength. He did not survive the night. Scott Fisher also struggled during the descent. He was severely fatigued and possibly suffering from altitude sickness. Other climbers tried to help him, but the storm made rescue nearly impossible. At that altitude, even strong climbers can barely save themselves. He, too, did not survive. Other climbers experienced unimaginable conditions. One of them was Beck Weathers. He became lost in the storm and was left behind when others believed he would not survive. Hours later, he regained consciousness in freezing darkness. Nearly blind and severely frostbitten, he somehow stood up and walked slowly back toward camp. It was an extraordinary survival story. He lived, though he suffered permanent injuries. When the storm finally cleared, the mountain was silent. Rescue attempts were made, but above 8,000 meters, rescue is extremely difficult. Helicopters cannot fly that high. Climbers must carry one another, and they barely have strength to walk themselves. By the end of the disaster, 8 climbers had died over May 10th and 11th. It became the deadliest single day in Everest history at that time. The world was shocked. How could this happen with professional guides? The answer was complex. It was not one mistake, but many small decisions combined with sudden weather changes, fatigue, overcrowding, and delayed rope setup. After 1996, Everest climbing changed. Turnaround times became stricter. Weather forecasting improved. Greater attention was given to crowd control and safety protocols. John Krakauer later wrote the best-selling book Into Thin Air, which brought the tragedy to millions of readers. Years later, the events were adapted into film Everest, showing the storm and the human struggle against nature. Even today, people continue to climb Everest. They know the risks. They know the history. Yet the mountain still calls them. Everest represents ambition, courage, and the desire to test human limits. But it also reminds us of humility. Nature does not negotiate. It does not forgive carelessness. It does not slow down for human dreams. The 1996 disaster was not simply a tragedy. It was a lesson about leadership, decision-making, teamwork, and respect for nature's power. The summit is optional. Returning safely is what truly matters. Memorials stand at Everest Base Camp today. Prayer flags move in the wind. Names are carved into stone. They remind climbers of those who came before and those who never returned. May 10th to May 11th, 1996 will always be remembered as one of the darkest days in Everest history. The mountain remains silent, massive, unmoved, and every climber who looks up at its peak knows that while standing on top of the world is extraordinary, surviving the journey back down is a true victory. The mountain will always be there, but life is precious, and on Everest, every step matters.